We're very excited to be joined by Fox Sports' Emmanuel Acho right now, the former college linebacker, former NFL linebacker, now on the facility on FS1 mornings at 9 a.m., our central time zone. Emmanuel, thank you so much for being here. It looks like you guys are having so much fun. LaShawn McCoy, James Jones, Chase Daniel. It's a great combo you've got going on.
Man, we appreciate it. It's a television experience, I try to tell people, not just a TV show, but it's the only show on daily television that's all athletes. And so we really want fans, we want viewers to experience TV differently. We don't just want to debate, we want to discuss. We think that debating has been played out. I think the fans are educated enough to understand the game. And so when you got all athletes, 39 years of NFL experience, 4 Super Bowls sitting at one desk, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, no, I love that discussion versus debate. We could have a whole other side conversation about that. But we're here to talk about the Minnesota Vikings, and in your Monday morning pressers, you've alerted fans, NFL fans, for weeks now that you got to believe in this Vikings team. Why did you feel so passionately about that from the jump, really?
I believe the Vikings have a top 3 coaching staff in football. I spent a few days with Kevin O'Connell last year at Mark Sanchez, a close friend of mine's wedding. We were in Mexico. I got some time to just pick his brain, but even more than picking KOC's brain, I got some time to get to know him, the man, him, the human, incredible leader of men. He can get along with and galvanize any group of people. So realizing that he is the leader at the helm, but then obviously Brian Flores being a defensive wizard, outside of Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, I don't think there is a greater offensive, defensive mind currently combination in the game of football. So when you look at those minds and then you look at what they're putting on tape, it's breathtaking. You got 2 savants out there, 2 wizards out there calling the game. But because of the trust the players have in the coaching scheme, it's just brilliant. And so for that reason, I'm really all in on the Vikings this year, as long as Sam Darnold continues to play at a high level.
But you mentioned Sam Darnold and your conversations with Kevin O'Connell. What do you think he's been able to elevate in Sam's game? Or really, I mean, I'm sure he's had it all along, but what has he made it work for Sam to be so confident this early on in this system?
First and foremost, he's believed in an individual. Oftentimes, you just need somebody to believe in you. Sam Darnold has always been talented. I was a college analyst before an NFL analyst. At USC, Sam Darnold was incredibly talented. But when you don't have offensive coaches around you and you don't have that belief in you, will never be able to see your talent. So the first thing is he believed in Sam Darnold, which is an unheralded coaching trait. We only talk about X's and O's. Forget X's and O's. Do I believe in you as a player? Because if I believe in you, you'll begin to believe in you. That's the first thing. The second thing we have to remember, success begets success and failure begets failure. The more you succeed as a player, the more you'll continue to succeed as a player. So I think Sam Darnold has tasted success. He's tasted winning. And now you kind of start liking that taste of success. And beyond that, I think schematically, Kevin O'Connell does a really good job with pre-snap motions, does a really good job with pre-snap shifts. He does a really good job telling Sam Darnold where to throw the football formationally, so he doesn't have to tell him in the headset.
Well, it's also very helpful for Sam Darnold to have such an amazing defense on the other side of the ball. And you've mentioned Brian Flores and his wizardry so far. I think it was this week that you recently said the Vikings defense could be a generational defense at taking the ball away. Why do you think this group is executing that at such a high level?
Well, I think it's you got to go back to 1988 to find a Vikings defense allowing this few points per game plus 11 interceptions, something along those lines. 11 interceptions, maybe 20 takeaways. Truly, it is the trust and the scheme married together. What I mean by that is, you have defensive backs that are playing zero coverage. I will talk as though people have no idea what I'm talking about. Obviously they do, but when you have defensive backs playing zero coverage, meaning they have no help, they have to trust that the rush is going to get there. Mm-hmm. If you're playing zero coverage with no help, one of the rushers will be unblocked. But the defensive backs have to trust that the rusher is going to be unblocked and that the rusher is going to get home. And the rusher has to get home. When you marry the trust and the execution together, the play will win. If the defensive back does not trust that the rusher will get home, and as a result, the defensive back, he plays a little more aggressive, he'll get beat. If the rusher doesn't get home, then you'll never land. But I challenge the viewers, go back, rewatch the Van Ginkel interception for a touchdown versus the Jets, and rewatch the Harrison Smith sack. It's on 3rd and 6, both of those plays. What you'll see is trust. You'll see the defensive backs trusting the rush, and you'll see the rush trusting the defensive back. And it's the trust that makes it all work. Everybody runs zero coverage, but not everybody runs it like the Vikings run it.
So I wanted to pick your brain on this part too, as a former player, because there are 5 new starters in this defense. This is the 2nd year of the scheme. There are 4 rotational players who are also new to this roster. How are you able, or how have they been able to build that trust within this scheme so fast?
A really good question. My favorite play of the Viking season, probably because I'm close to Camus, was a Camus interception on Jordan Love versus the Green Bay Packers, if I'm not mistaken. And that's when I knew the Vikings had it. Because Camus started his career as a special teams player. He's been a rotational starter. Now with the Vikings, he's starting in that game. And I said, oh, everybody got it. What I meant by that is the defensive players not only understand their assignments, but they have so much confidence in their assignments, they also understand the opponent's plays. He knew that one of the Packers receivers was just running a clear out route, and there was going to be an in-breaking route underneath, and he looked for the ball, interception. So when you are well coached, everybody can do it. Mm-hmm. And I believe that Brian Flores is coaching these dudes up so freaking well. Because if we're being honest, the Vikings don't have like a superstar name. Mm-hmm. Harrison Smith is an OG. I think he's in the same draft class as me, 2012, if I'm not mistaken. But like, it's not like they got like a Jared Allen sitting there or a Chad Greenway sitting there to go way back. There's not like some superstar name that, no, it's a bunch of really, 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 really good players and a bunch of underrated players that are playing at the highest level.
I mean, that seems to be a very common signature of a Brian Flores defense. I mean, even today, this week in his press conference, he talked about how important it was to develop players. And that's his goal when he, starts coaching them in OTAs and minicamp and whatnot. But I want to kind of change it a little bit because they put 6 or 5 games on tape by now. How sustainable is this way of play as you go into now what is going to be a 12-plus game stretch?
That is a really good question. That's a really good question. There are weaknesses to Brian Flores' scheme. I know some of the weaknesses to the scheme, but I think it would take Andy Reid to expose it. Mm-hmm. Like, not everybody, I'm waiting for one coach to simply do what I'm like, dude, this is all you have to do.
Well, don't tell us just yet, Emmanuel.
I'm like, and I'm not saying, but I think it would take Andy Reid.
Okay.
I don't know that many coaches who can expose it. Maybe Sean McVay, maybe Kyle Shanahan, mm-hmm. but you need a coach and you need the players, and then you need the execution. Again, just to nerd out real quick, those that are listening and watching, go back and look at the Mike Williams drop. I think it was the 12-minute, 54-second mark of the Jets versus the Bills game most recently. The Bills ran the exact same defense as the Vikings. And the reason they did so was because the Vikings had so much success with it against the Jets. It's a copycat league. So just because you know what the Vikings are doing, and just because you practice against what the Vikings are doing, can you execute it? I think it would take Andy Reid to do it.
All right. Well, now that we know that you're officially an encyclopedia of football, I do not know how you keep it all in your brain at all. So the Lions will be playing in at US Bank Stadium against the Vikings this weekend. And obviously they have an offense that even Brian Flores said it's hard to find a weakness on. So what do the Vikings need to do to, I guess, disrupt what the Lions do?
Keep them behind the sticks. The Vikings' best attribute is when they get a team in 3rd and 6 or longer. If you get a team in 3rd and 6 or longer, you can zero pressure. And that's really what makes the Vikings defense great. The Vikings defense is cool, but it's the zero pressure scheme that makes them next level. But you can't zero pressure on 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 1. You got to play straight. Simply put, you just kind of call mm-hmm. basic man-to-man, even cover ones, even jet cover ones, even one robbers. I'm just giving y'all different play calls. But if you get them in 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9, That's when you get to have fun. That's when you get to bring out your prowler package, or you get to bring out your fun package. You can do the stuff that the Vikings did where you got 9 players standing up and only 2 players hands on the ground. The problem is the Lions going to run that football. They're going to get in 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. So whoever wins this game will be whoever won on first down. Don't look at the final score. Just look at who won on first down. Whoever wins on first down will win the game. If it goes to 2nd and 8, advantage Vikings. If it goes to 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, advantage Lions.
Well, Brian Flores did say also this week in his presser, it was a really great presser. Like, he was at the podium for 23 minutes, which is, almost unheard of for some coordinators. But he did say he'd like to fight fire with fire this week. So I think that he's going to have some special things cooked up for the Lions. But one more question before you go, Emmanuel. I wanted to ask you, the NFC North is division that's doing things that we haven't seen in the league for quite some time. A 75% winning percentage. And it's going to be tough sledding for this Vikings team. As a former player, how do you maintain this type of success? I keep hearing game by game, and I know I have a feeling that's what I'll hear. But as a player, when you take that aside, what do you need to do to make it through the rest of this year with that type of confidence?
Well, the blessing for the Vikings is they don't have any egos because they haven't had any success lately. So you got no reason to have egos. You know what I mean? Some teams has been balling. Oh yeah, it's just what we do. Not the Vikings. Sam Darnold, your career has been lackluster thus far. You're not allowed to feel yourself. Vikings, your team, you've been lackluster. So there's a natural humility within that organization based upon the years past, based upon the players, based upon the head coach. There's a natural humility that I think will carry this team through. Then the question is really just how will you respond to the first L? It will happen eventually. It's the NFL. Somebody gonna beat you. How do you respond to the first L? Does one L beget another L? Or do you live, do you learn, do you put the fire out, and do you keep it cooking? But hopefully you take the L sooner or later so you can adjust and you don't get surprised in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
For sure. Well, thank you so much, Manuel, for sharing your time today. We really appreciate it. If you're not following him on X or Twitter or whatever it's called these days, you definitely should. He is a wonderful follow. You can also catch him on the facility on FS1 every morning or weekday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. And if college football is your jam, you're still doing that too. Again, I don't know how you do it all.
Tatum, thanks so much.
No, thank you. Appreciate you.